and I don't know if most people know it, but kids that deal with like albinism, they go through so much, they just close it up. They don't have a need to talk about it. Like, because nobody cares. It's not like enough people are going through it or dealing with it to really understand. So it was a lot of things that they didn't know that my family members had said to me, or, you know, teachers or students and stuff I was dealing with. And like I said, I was very, very, still am to this day, outgoing. So I felt like at times I got it worse. You know what I'm saying? Just because I was willing to say, no, I'm willing to be out here.
Get around those obstacles and make room to create opportunities. You are listening to the Around the Way podcast. And now, your hosts, Kyle King and Kiana Williams.
Welcome to another episode of Around the Way podcast, where we help you get around your obstacles and find a way to redesign your life. We are here with Picasso himself. Yo, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Same old same, man. I wish I was Picasso.
Look, you're the Picasso. You know, they say that a picture, right? What
Absolutely.
is it? Tells 1,000 words?
1,000 words.
1,000 words, right? But the content, the value, the quality that you're putting out is worth much more than 1,000 words.
Thank you.
For sure.
I appreciate that.
Nah, definitely.
No, I truly appreciate that. I believe photography tells a story. And a lot of times, you know, I was at my wife's mom's house, so my mother-in-law's house, and she brought out photo albums. And it made me think about when the last time we actually made a photo album.
Right.
When actually the last time you like sat there, went through one, and able to see yourself as like a child and growing up. And then I tell some of my friends as videographers, I'm like, how often do you go around and say, let me record video? Just so, because I have tapes, my parents have tapes of me as a 2-year-old sitting on the floor just eating grapes. And it's like weird seeing myself that young. And I'm like, when the last time I done that just with family and friends that hasn't gone on Snapchat? So yeah,
exactly.
So it tells a story, and I love telling stories.
Man, I love that. So before we get all the way, because look, this would have been an hour conversation. They're like, yo, who are we talking to?
Absolutely.
Can you just introduce yourself, you know, and tell us who you are and how you're changing lives out here?
Okay, so my name is Gavin Boulware. I'm a Charlotte born, raised, bred, whatever you want to say, photographer. I was born right here in the city. I love this city. I am actually the host of the Paid Exposure Photography podcast. And the reason why I feel like that's important to state is because I actually educate photographers and give resources to other photographers that's out there. It's catered to Black and brown photographers. However, if you join our group on Facebook, we have a little bit of everybody in there, which is great because they like a great insight onto just issues that Black and brown photographers face, but also how they can reach and deal with their Black and brown clients. So we do a lot of education there. So that's how I'm giving back and helping out.
I love it. I love it. And you started off with saying, like, you know, you're in photography because it's the story, right?
Absolutely.
And you talked about these different pictures that, you know, when you were kind of growing up that you saw.
Absolutely.
What are 3 pictures that you can identify with that you've either taken or that you've been in your life that describe your story?
Oh my goodness. So one picture, it has to be my wedding day. Well, she's not in it, so she said, "Oh, like." So
from the day.
It was from the day, but I'm like sitting down, I'm eating a strawberry, and I'm just laughing at everything that's going on. But the reason why that's important is because at that time I was like, my nerves missed me all the way before the wedding. It hit me right after the wedding. Wow. So I'm like cramping. I'm like sitting down. I haven't ate. I'm like telling her, I'm like, yo, I don't know what I'm gonna be doing during the reception. It's over. But so that one's just seeing myself there in that element. It's just amazing just to say, like, it was a sigh of relief, like just to be married and say it's all over. We've been working for that. Another one is a picture of me and my father when we were, I had to be like 2, and I'm like sitting on his lap, and I have like a do-rag on. I don't know why he's putting a do-rag on like a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, but it was just seeing him there and seeing my aunt, who is 2 years older than me, just there playing with me. I love that photo. And then, you know, a little bit later, I have like a full-blown fro. So it's like, it's the weirdest thing ever to see, a blonde fro. And the last one, it's another generational picture. It's me, my dad, and my nephew. And just to see how life has just transitioned and grown from, my dad had me when he was 19, which back then wasn't out of the question. I mean, but it was just like, to me at 19, I can't imagine having a kid. I'm 31 now. And, you know, so at 19, I couldn't imagine, but to see that, and then to see my nephew, who is 8 now, but he was 6 at that time, just seeing us 3 and just seeing the growth and saying, you know, my dad taught me stuff as quick as he could so I can grow. And then me trying to give those shortcuts or just those lessons to my nephew so he can achieve more than what I have. So those are 3 pictures I've been in. Sorry, I didn't get the ones that I took, but
that's solid. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing that you went towards the ones that you were in, right, and not the ones that you took. So, I guess my question, because you talk a lot about your dad, you talk a lot about the influence, the positive influence, which is good, you know, that your father played in your life. I guess walk me through your childhood and the different influences in your life that created you today.
So, like I said, I grew up in Charlotte, so I was a product of CMS until my last 2 years. But I grew up in the church. I was around the church. For those listening, if you listen to my podcast, you couldn't tell, but that's a different subject. But just growing up there, my father, so I have nothing but aunts. All my uncles are married in. And the reason why I feel like that's important, because as I got older, my wife might have a different story, but just dealing with women, speaking to women, understanding certain women, you know, aspects about women, I felt like I always had the advantage. I have sisters. Surprisingly, all my cousins, I have nothing but girl cousins. I have a few guy cousins. Exactly. So it's nothing but women in my family. Growing up, once I got to high school, honestly, probably, it sounds crazy. It probably doesn't sound crazy, but probably around like 10th grade, that was 8th grade. It was the biggest life change for me because me being albino, I went through a lot. And like that was the hardest time for me.
Why was that the hardest time?
Just because trying to fit in, trying to be somebody I wasn't, and then realizing that you're just being used and people picking at you, things of that nature. So it was always tough. However, I was at that day, I remember this day like it was vivid. Shout out to my teacher, Miss Washburn. I think she's still a teacher, but she pulled me to the side. She was like, yo, I told you this. And that's exactly how she said. She said, yo, I told you before this school year started, they not your friends. I'm glad you found out. And I just remember that stuck with me. And I was like, okay, I'm picking up on it. And I remember 9th grade, I made a commitment to myself not to try to like fit out, not try to be shy and to myself and figure that people would just leave me alone. But I figured, I'm like, well, shoot, I'm gonna just put myself out there. If you got something to say, you got something to say. I got jokes too. I have fun. And in 9th grade, I just remember just saying, hey, I'm talking to everybody. I'm gonna be loud. So if people say something, I'm gonna just learn to deal with it. And I remember in 10th grade, so in the 10th grade, I planned too much around, and at Hopewell, my mom said, all right, you having too much fun, so I got something for you. And she went into a bank. On the back of her pamphlet, it was a Christian school on there. She came home. She said, this is where you're going to school at. You had too much fun. And it was, wow, bro, it was tough. And so I was like, I'm thinking she joking because, you know, black mom, I ain't paying for no school. You know, we ain't doing that till you get to college. And she was serious. And I remember 3 months into the school, a guy came up to me, did not know me. He said, you've been picked on too much. People going to start following you now. So just start paying attention to what your moves you're making. And it scared me, but it also like made me just self-aware. Like, okay. And now to this day, I feel like what I used to get picked on the most is the easiest way people recognize me. I think that's why I am where I am now.
That's powerful.
My wife says it all the time. Like, we'd be out somewhere and we'd be at a restaurant. Servers would come up and speak to me. And it's not because they know me from photography. They just saw me last time. They remember me. So, you know, we skip lines places. We get together places. When we used to go out and party, you know, we was never paying for drinks because people just recognize me. And I always have like a good spirit because it kept me out of trouble as well. Because I'm like, oh, they're gonna pick me out the lineup. Like, they're going to know. So, yeah. So that was, and then now, the biggest change in my life, meet my wife, to be completely 100 with y'all. It's not because she's here. I've said it on several episodes. I said it several times. I meet people. I was working for Marriott. I was working at the Ritz. I was a marketing coordinator, and I wasn't making enough money. I went to my gym. I said, yo, I got to figure something out. And I told her, I was like, hey, I'm about to get a second job. She was like, you're a photographer. What you doing? Like, that's your second job. You should start charging people. That's powerful. And I told her, I said, well, I don't know. I got some. And mind you, at this time, she wasn't even my girlfriend. She was just a girl at work I was talking to. And she came to me. She said, hey, I got this for you. And it was a photography class. And that changed my career, my life everything for me, just the education part. Because I was a YouTube university student, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I went to UNCC, but she got me that class, and the first class I came home, called her, I said, I learned nothing, because I didn't. She was like, well, just stick it out. The second day, I've never been so ignorant and so eager just to learn that day. And since then, shout out to the Light Factory. They taught me more than I could have, more than what the class was. I paid for the class, what she paid for the class.
She did that.
Yeah, she did that.
Solid,
wife.
And so
It
it changed my life. It really, really,
Wow.
really changed my life. And just her and that. And I tell everybody, I'm like, she speaks life into me. Like, it sounds crazy to say, but she does. She takes me places I can't go. She made me do stuff I want to do. That's on the subject. But yeah.
One thing that I really admire about you, just in the the beginning stages of this conversation, is that you're very reflective. Like, you were able to really answer these questions in a way where you've already kind of done a lot of the work in regards to communicating. You're aware of, hey, my teacher said this and this shifted me. This moment was another shifting moment. My dad influenced me because of this. Like, I don't know 3 pictures that I would have been able to pick that I've seen.
That's a tough question.
That was a tough one. I thought I was going to try to come out like with a hit. Like, he was like, nah, like bang, bang, bang. Like, so, but a lot of this is, one thing that you said is that what people picked on you for was the thing that made you stand out. Absolutely. And I love that. And I guess my question to that is, because of the things that people picked on you for physically, right? And that's how now they recognize you. But what is one thing internally that you recognize about yourself that people don't recognize?
Oh my goodness. I pick apart words. Maybe people recognize that. Hold on. Okay, so she looked up.
Oh,
so
that's
people
me
recognize. Let me put it like this. I get over stuff very easy and quickly. Now, I'm petty at times.
Let me challenge that. Get over it or block it out?
That's a great question. See, this is what happens when you go on other people's
That is
great question. You know what? I feel like I can get over it because I can still work with you and move on past it. Okay. And the reason why I say that is a lot of people don't know, because I am petty on certain little things, right? That's just me. But I like to have fun on that. And the reason why I keep going back to fun is because, another reflective point, when I was younger, my dad said, you're never going to do something unless you find it fun and you like it. And I was like, yeah, why wouldn't I? Mind you, this is a man who was working the same job since he was 18. And he's still there now, and he's in his 50s. And for him, he could never leave. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. The point is, I do get over things very quickly, and I can see I'm willing to talk to you and work with you. Now, I still might keep you at a bay. That's one thing. I think a lot of people think that, hey, he isn't like that. And a lot of people think I'm very like outgoing all the time. Sometimes I'm just I like to be at the house by myself. I like to chill by myself. Exactly. I like to have her over there. But, but those are some things like internally that I deal with that is, and it's a struggle sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I laugh at, probably about a year ago, I'm growing crazy on social media at this time in my life, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I am, to give y'all a look into it, I had like 800 followers, right?
2 years ago.
Probably about maybe 3 years ago, right before we got married. So yeah, so a little bit over 3 years ago, I had 800 followers. I told her, I said, by the summer, I'm going to get over 1,000. That was just my goal in life, like so small. And so the summer comes, and I'm like at 12. And so I go, I'm going to just see how bad I can get this. By December, I had like 8,000. You know what I'm saying? The next year, by the time we got married, I think I was like right over 10. And so the reason why I'm telling you this is because I was working at that so much. And I remember I would go places because I'm easily recognizable. If you see me, you see me. And so people are coming up to me, and people are booking me at this time and saying, hey, I want to book you because they see me on social media. And nothing was scarier than a young lady booked me, and she said, oh, I thought you'd be much different at this shoot than what you do on social media. Because that morning I was just chill. And I said, well, no, that's me sometimes. Like, that's me sometimes. It's social media, but
it's part of me.
Yeah, it's a part of me. And she said, oh, and she looked so disappointed.
Aww.
And so I said, okay. And then somebody else invited me somewhere, and people started sending me little stuff, like thinking I was just on 10 all the time. Yeah. And I reached out to one of my friends, and I said, hey, I'm dealing with this. And she said, don't become a character of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, do not become that person. You got to be who you want to be. People adapt. They'll move around. And that bothered me, and it just caused me to say, okay. So I started paying attention. And so that was just me, you know, that was another reflective moment in my life, is saying, hey, the person who you see me as, you're going to see me as this all the time. I do like to jump around. I laugh. I make jokes. I'm that person as well. But I never want to become somebody I'm not. And that was that moment in my life where I was like, okay.
I have so many things I want to ask you, but one thing, the most pressing, I think, we've talked about your childhood. We've talked about a lot of different things about your wife's influence in your life and all those things. I believe that we shed ourselves frequently. Like, the person that we are is not necessarily the person that will be next week or next month. If you could think about, because you've talked about a couple different stories, like your teacher, your parents, like all these things. If you could pinpoint a story or a situation that has directly shaped who you are existing as today, what do you think has played the most? It
had to be that 8th grade story. Let me tell y'all. So we're in the classroom, right? We're in geometry, and so I'm pretty decent at math. Like, I was good at math, especially then. I mean, math isn't hard in 8th grade. I played a lot. I was just, you know, and so we're sitting in this class, and I go to school in Huntersville at this time. So the reason why I'm stating that, because out of 22 kids, 6 of us are black, right? And we're all sitting together. We're all having fun, and we're sitting there, and somebody made a joke. The guy behind me was like making a joke on me, but it was, at this point in my life, I would make jokes back with everybody. I figured that out very quickly. Yeah. Like, you know, just don't get pushed on and pushed over. And bruh slapped me in the back of the head.
Really?
Now, he was joking, but he slapped me. It was a good slap. So
it was a good slap.
So I was like, and shout out to you, Terrell. And so I'm like, hold on. I know he ain't just slapped me. So I'm like, hold on. So I'm like, now in my mind, this is very beginning, I'm realizing that I'm becoming somebody I'm not, or who I'm not comfortable with. So early on, I go, hold on. And so I'm like, oh, I got to do something. So I stand up, and I hit him right in his chest, like hard. And so he's not a small guy. He's bigger than me. He's stronger than me.
He was sitting down at this point.
Yeah. We both sitting down. But when I turn around, I just jab. And so bruh gets up, and I get up, and I go, the class is watching. We got to make a show. But I'm like, if he gets me, like, I wrestle with him. But I'm not going to let nobody just hit me. Like, that's my thing. I'm not going to let nobody hit me. Because the mark going to show up, and everybody going to think I got beat up. No matter what. In my mind. And I just remember the teacher broke it up. Shout out Miss Washburn. She, you know, much love to her. And I just remember sitting there crying. And so the reason why I cried is not because of what happened. I remember she said, what happened? She saw it, but she had to hear both accounts, right? And I said, oh, he hit me, blah, blah, blah. And nobody else in that area, they said that they didn't see him hit me.
And they all saw it. And
they all saw me hit him. Mind you, everybody watched everything happen. But, you know, the whole, like, no snitching rule and all that other stuff. And I'm looking at everybody. I'm like, yo, you saw it. And I just remember all of them were like, what you talking about?
So nobody stood up for you.
Nobody stood up for me. And that changed me, because I'm telling you, when everybody left, neither me nor him got in trouble. You know what I'm saying? She was a black teacher as well. So she was like, yo, I think what was most important for her is when everybody left, she said, sit down. She was like, now you see what I told you, you know, in the fall when I first met you.
That's what led up to that conversation.
I love how you went back and told,
And so I just remember sitting there, and I go home, and my dad is like, what is the problem? And I had a breakdown. Like, it wasn't an hour situation or just that classroom. You know, that lasted for days of my parents. And I don't know if most people know it, but kids that deal with, like, albinism, they go through so much, they just close it up. They don't have a need to talk about it. Like, because nobody cares. It's not like enough people are going through it or dealing with it to really understand. So it was a lot of things that they didn't know that my family members had said to me, or, you know, teachers or students and stuff I was dealing with. And like I said, I was very, very, still am to this day, outgoing. So I felt like at times I got it worse. You know what I'm saying? Just because I was willing to say, no, I'm willing to be out here. I'm not hiding from nobody. And so, anyway, so when that happened, that shaped my life. It made me realize, like, yo, these people, I say that just to her all the time, these people won't die for you. Like, these people will not get up there and ride for you. You gotta know. You'll start learning now who's willing to ride for you, who's willing to say, I'm there for you 110%. And so I was just aware of that literally starting in 9th grade. I was aware of that in, like, life.
That's good, bro.
So
that's good.
It was just self-awareness.
That's good. Like, and it's, I love how you painted the picture, but then, like, had a powerful message, because it's kind of like a lot of people are rocking with their day one still in 2021 that didn't stand up for them in the 8th grade classroom and still aren't standing up for them right now. Absolutely. So it's crazy, man. And I think a lot of times we don't reflect enough on our experiences, and then it creates an inability to reflect on our relationships. Absolutely. Right? But I want to go back so that we can go forward as well. So one thing that you said earlier, like, really stuck with me, right? And you were talking about your social media growth and in 2 years. And I truly believe personally that success is a seesaw. And for me, I'm a father, I do a lot of different things. And there's times where, like, and we were talking to you earlier, we've been in here some days for 14 hours. Yeah. And I had my son with me. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of them situations like you're going to have to rock it out with me today, but kind of showing him that. So, I could focus on the business, and then there's days where I got to focus on my son. And my question for you is, in those 2 years where you were really locked in on social media and you went from 800 followers to over 10,000 followers, success is a seesaw. There's something that lacked. There's something that you put a lot of attention, a lot of time in that area. What did you lack, or what areas did you need to grow in after you reflected after that 2 years?
Oh my goodness. I'm growing on social media. I didn't up my prices. My business lacked. It lacked. And it didn't hit me until, all right, so I worked a 9 to 5. All right. So I went from a marketing coordinator for the Ritz-Carlton, then I went to a marketing manager. So I'm doing marketing 8 to 5. Like, I'm getting off. She's my witness. I would get off of work at 5. I'd be at my first shoot at 5:30. Don't let it be the summertime, because I got a 5:30, a 6:30, a 7:30. Like, and if it wasn't, daylight saving time wasn't just on my side, then it was like a 5:30 and maybe a 6:30. And that was Monday through Friday. Saturday I would try to do like 4 or 5 shoots, and Sunday I try to chill, but try to knock in 2. What I should have did was, I'm growing. I have too much business What I should have did was just double my prices and cut everything in half. So I worked half as hard and doubled, right? Or tripled. I missed all that. I did not see that. I didn't capitalize during that time. You could give me, at that time, and this isn't now with social media where you get all these followers now and you got to pretty much pay Instagram or Facebook to play, no matter how many followers you got. This is a part of that time where it didn't matter what you gave me, I could sell it. I could just post it on my story and it was gone. Like, it did not matter.
You had a supportive following.
Oh,
not just followers, but people that trusted you.
I used to get on there and do, like, I sit in traffic and I just do stories just talking trash the whole time. People just laughing. And I'm talking about, like, it was growing. People was hitting me up, giving me stuff. Just, can you post this? Funniest thing I used to have people that would just write me something stupid, because they know I repost it and they'll get a bunch of followers.
Wow.
And so the reason why I'm saying it, and it's not like, it'd be different if I had like 100,000 followers or 200,000 followers. We're talking about a guy who has like 9,000, but people are really contacting me because I had people shoot. I used to shoot people. They used to get mad that I wouldn't post them. And so I used to tell her, I'm like, yo, you think I should have that as an add-on? I wasn't capitalizing on business, because people... I was just missing it because I was so focused on the smallest aspect. Like, now I post online once a week. I think I posted once in the last week. I don't post that much. I'm on my story. I still engage with folks. But I had to take a step back and I said, where's my business at? What am I really doing? Because Instagram was cool until 2 months ago when they deleted it. They deleted my account, like, on accident.
Wow.
And they literally
they've been doing a lot of crazy stuff right now, man.
And I wrote them. I said, hey, because they was like, we're going to show you all your violations. So they sent me a file.
Really?
Yes, they sent me a file. They said I violated. So I'm like, all right, cool. I don't know what I did. I probably said something, You know, a couple of black people died, and I had a lot to say online. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they probably ain't like that, right?
Wow.
And so at that time, I'm like, okay, we're growing. My account gets deleted. And I realized I have 2 shoots that day, and I don't have the people's contact information because they chose not to email me back and things of that nature. So I'm like realizing how much I really needed Instagram at that time. And I said, I never want to be that person. And I was thinking about my business aspect. I'm very much on business. That's why I started my podcast. So I'm like, the business, a lot of photographers, especially creators in Charlotte, do not have their business right.
That's deep, bro.
And-
Nah, their business is social media.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to ask yourself, if Instagram shut down today, how are you still getting
What you gonna do
clients?
if Facebook go say,
Yeah.
nah, we don't want you on. Forget they shut down. What they say, we don't want you here.
Yeah.
What do you do? How's your business gonna survive? It's tough.
That's good.
You gotta know. You gotta understand how your website SEO works. I hit up a guy last night, and I'm like, "Yo, I know this because I worked in marketing for this many years." I said, "Bro, I need help like this." So I want people to be able to Google me and find me. You know, a lot of things you do have to pay to play.
That's facts.
But you got to know the right people to pay to play and
That's-
the right
that's-
programs. But I never wanted to be bound to social media, and I was bound to that. So that's what lacked in my life at that time, was just that business aspect of growing and expanding and getting up out of Charlotte. When I say get up out of Charlotte, like reaching further than Charlotte. And so it was tough during that time.
So I see that there's been a lot of adversity that you've overcome, which I love to hear as well. And you even talk about reaching further than Charlotte. What is something that you're reaching for right now that you need support in?
So funny enough, I have a photography podcast, like I stated, and I don't think people understand that photography in this city, we black photographers, especially black and brown, are losing resources daily.
Talk more about that.
So you look uptown, right? Since this pandemic then started, we've seen buildings keep being built, apartments keep going up. A lot of places not allowing black photographers, not even black, but photographers to come out and shoot. You know what I'm saying? In my group today, somebody said, hey, I need a rooftop to shoot in. And the list of where they shouldn't go was longer than the list they could go.
Wow.
So when I say that black and brown photographers are losing resources, I created a space because I figured out at the end, like I needed my niche, right? I need to figure that out. And so I narrowed down all my photography that I want to do, right? Sorry if you have a 2 to 4 year old, I can't take their pictures. It's cool. They like to have fun. I like to have fun with them. I just can't take their pictures at the moment. But there's other things I like doing, whether it's maternity, engagement, weddings, things of that nature. I like to do. However, my true thing that I really love was my podcast and educating photographers, right? And so I create this space, and I realize that I am able to provide resources where I'm willing to do the research, go find these things, and say, hey, here's a space, a safe space, right? So during the pandemic, let me give you an example. During the pandemic, right? We're not posting in there, hey, such and such is looking for a photographer. Anybody want to do it? No, what we're doing is saying, hey, Carolina's Foundations of the Carolinas giving away a grant. It's 10 grand. Y'all don't have to do anything. You have to do, it's 15. Excuse me. You have to do nothing. You just sign up. The Schedule C. And so my thing was, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, hey, I'm letting them know, sign up for this. The Charlotte Hornets was giving away 10 G's to a black business a month ago. I don't know how many people knew that, but I'm in my group letting them know.
I didn't know that.
It's there. It was an innovation thing, and it got pushed back. And I'm emailing the lady who's over it. I'm like, hey, we need to, where's the information for this? Where's the form? Like seeing that, telling people where they can go, things of that nature. So, but my biggest thing is just saying, hey, if you have resources or if you have a space where we can come and just talk and show you what we can do, then we can educate photographers well beyond us. So
We're going to go on a commercial break.
Welcome back. We are here with Mr. Picasso. We're gonna stay with that. We've been having a really great and open and honest conversation, which I appreciate.
For sure.
So we're going to switch it up a little bit.
okay.
You may notice a red box in the middle of the
I
table.
do.
Hold on, let me see something.
Yeah. Make sure it's in there.
Sure, 'cause I think one of these.
Uh-oh.
I feel like somebody might have put something back.
Oh gosh.
This is the part.
Oh gosh.
This is the part.
We have a notebook in our house. It's so ratchet. Like when we record, it's ratchet.
Back in there. Cool.
It's not.
What's it? Just questions?
Bro, it's questions, but to answer a question, you got to leave a question. It's so ratchet.
That's cool.
Oh, I like
It
that.
gets
We
ratchet.
should start having.
I like that.
Do it.
There it is.
I'll take 2%.
Catch it.
So if you could take the box, there are questions in that box, obviously. If you can take a question, read it, and answer it.
Okay. All right, this one was under something. All right. If there is one event from your life that you could forget, what would it be? Oh my gosh. All right. This is funny. All right. She don't know this.
That's a good one.
All right, I told you I grew up in the church, right?
Uh-huh.
If you listen to my podcast, I'm so sorry. If you follow me, I'm so sorry. I promise you it's the truth. Yo, we was at church one day, and so it was an event, and it was a girl who I was talking to. Yeah, so the pastor, the guy preaching, he knows me. Me and him rock. Like, we cool. So he called everybody down. You know, at Black Church, you got to come down to the altar. Bro, when I say her ex-man came out of nowhere and just gave me the biggest bear hug in the middle of the church. Like, everybody is watching because everybody is down there. And it's so random because I just remember sitting there like, you ever been like, somebody give you a hug and you like, yo, I don't mess with you. I don't rock with you. Like, why are you touching me? And I just remember sitting there like, my mom was there. My mom goes, uh-oh. Because I could hear my mom. Because, like, we were near my mom. And I just remember my mom was like, after church, my mom was like, all right, so I'm going back to Charlotte. I know you drove. I guess you're following me home. And I was like, nah, mama, hang out. And then even like later that night, right, we all go out to eat. And Shorty is missing for like an hour from dinner. Like, we're all out in a big group. And she was with bruh, like, out at the restaurant. Like, she was like on a whole nother side of the restaurant with bruh. I had no idea. And I just remember, and let me tell you why I say I need to forget that. It was so embarrassing to sit there, and I had no idea. Everybody else at the table knew, but me. Yeah, so I'm sitting there, and the only person, he's my great friend now. He was in my wedding. I was in his. We lived together.
Wow.
He looked at me.
Irony.
Yeah, but he was there at the table. He goes, I do something. He go, yo, you about ready to go? I'm like, what? He's like, nah, it ain't cool. He's like, it's not cool right now. And I was like, what's going on? And it was the biggest mess. And I just remember sitting there. Now it's funny. Clearly I laugh. But like, I just remember that day. Still, if I could forget that day. Absolutely. But, oh well.
I got a follow-up question to that.
I know it's random.
It's definitely. So when you think about forgetting, you know, the word forgiving always comes up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I may forgive you, but I never forget, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is something that you're actively trying to forgive yourself on that you haven't truly forgiven yourself yet?
My father, clearly I have a great relationship with my dad. Mm-hmm. But I remember he came to me when I was younger. He said, yo, you're so shy and reserved. And I was like, what do you mean? Because me, I'm thinking I'm just myself, whatever. And it might have been a lot of stuff I was dealing with, so it could have been something around that time. But I just remember sitting there, and he was like, you're so shy. You're just so reserved. You don't like to be out. And I'm like, nah, I am. He's like, nah. And I remember that period in my life where I really was that guy, and I recognize it now. Mind you, this is when I'm a child. So we're talking like, if I had to be honest with you, it's probably from like 3rd to 7th grade. I was just I really could have been like an actor. Like, I used to be that. It didn't matter what. My dad tells the story all the time. The news people was at the library, and I just walked up to them at the library and just started talking to them. And he was like, somehow you just magically ended up on the news that night in Charlotte. Wow. And he was like, that was you. You didn't mind talking to anybody, having those conversations. And I'm trying to, like, forgive myself of taking those years away from me just to see like who I could have been, what I could have been, and just saying like, hey, I'm going to make the best out of that now, even though that was so long ago. But those are some of those years, and which is funny. Everybody says that like my nephew's like a little smaller version of me, and I try to let him be that person. Like, yo, talk as much as you need to talk. You're gonna talk my head off, and I'm gonna bang it into a wall later. But just talk, have fun. So those are my things that like trying to forgive.
If you could be anybody that you would want to be right now, who
Okay.
would that person be?
If I could be anybody, like just swap for a little bit, or what you mean?
So I'm gonna preface it a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask a direct question, and then we're gonna open it up. So
Okay.
are you the person that you dream to be?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'll be completely 100% honest with you.
Is there an opportunity for you to shift, whether it's careers, whether it's behaviors, whatever it is, and that would help you get to the place where you're dreaming to be?
Absolutely.
What are the steps that you need to take to be able to make that happen?
I need to find unique ways of telling. I think, all right, so I believe your purpose is what you like doing and how you can serve others doing that.
Okay.
I love educating people through photography and through personal things. So my next steps in life, I feel like I need to find ways to be able to tell the stories like I'm telling now. Things I went to as a younger boy. There's support groups for children with albinism. I should be doing more. I know that personally. That's something I know. Photography. There's certain things that photography is a cutthroat business. I don't know if people really understand that. Like people will literally set you up to let you fall. I've heard rumors about me, and she was there for her. And the rumor is that she wasn't there. And then me and her laugh because we see these rumors and people correct people, right? They say, no, his wife was there. And so it's interesting. It's just rumors just happen. And so people don't feel like there's enough out here for everybody. And it really is. You just got to find your space and just thrive in it. So the reason why I'm saying all that is because once I'm able to, whether it's TV, whether it's radio, whether it's more podcasts, to say, hey, here are the educational steps. Because my goal, honestly, is to be able to have just a show where we discuss photography. Quickly before we go there to the next thing, I went to Photo Plus in New York. It was a photo conference. And funny enough, I got fired walking into the photo conference in New York. Literally fired. Like
From when you were at Ritz-Carlton?
No, it was my job after that. I
Okay.
had switched jobs. So I'm like 2 jobs removed from the Ritz-Carlton.
Okay.
And I'm out to Uber, and I get a phone call. I'm literally walking up the steps to the Jacob Javits Center, and I answer it because I don't recognize the number. And it was like, hey, Gavin, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, fine. They were like, where you at? I'm like, oh, I'm at this conference that you guys have wrote off for me to go to for the last 3 weeks. Cool, great. Thank you. We're done.
Wow.
And I'm like, I hang up, and bro asked me, he's like, you got anything to say? I said, no. I have nothing to say. What am I going to say?
Yeah.
I'm in New York.
Yeah.
And to put it in perspective, our 1-year anniversary was 2 days later.
Wow.
So I then took this girl's hand in marriage,
no
then
job.
told her dad
Yeah.
that I'm going to protect her. And I'm 2 days before,
Wow.
hey, you don't have a job now. And mind you, I'm saving at this point so I can quit my job.
Wow.
And so I get fired, and she told me the craziest thing. She said, have fun because you're going to have to make this photography thing work when you get back.
I love that.
You
And
had
so,
to.
and I had to, and I had to grind. I've been doing it. So to go back.
Before you continue,
Okay.
what situations, what experiences, negative situations were happening at your job before you actually got
Oh
to...
my gosh, bro.
Because you wanted to leave anyway, so it was already
Oh,
on your
There were
radar.
already signs because
Yeah.
I feel like, and we talked about this before, it's interesting how God gives us signs.
Oh, yeah.
And things get worse if we don't move with
Yeah.
those
He'll
signs.
make you, push you out.
I'm at this new job. I wasn't even there. I couldn't even apply for, like, I found out later I could apply for unemployment or went back. I was only there for, like, I was in, like, my 90 days. I was
Wow.
at 60, right? In that time, I interviewed with not the person I've been working with. I would have been working with, which... That doesn't seem like a big thing, but when you interview with somebody and you show them the vision of what you have, and you come to find out you're working with somebody completely different, it doesn't translate, right?
Exactly.
He brought me in the office, and he had gave my job away to like 4 different people, and I'm very new. And the reason why he was saying this is because, I want you to be able to focus on one thing at this point. And it's a small office, it's only 10, 11 people. So when half the office got your work, it's kind of weird. And
That is.
That's very
and so
strange.
I go in there, and he asked me for an update. And I said, I don't know. You gave it to people. Didn't tell me who you gave it to, blah, blah, blah. And we were going through. He said, do you like me? I said, You cool.
No, I don't.
And, so, and he sends me an email, and he told me to do something. He said I needed to get it approved by one girl in the office if I show him. That girl was on a meeting to like the end of the day. So that end of that evening, I didn't send it to him. I sent it to him at the end of the day. The next morning, he didn't see it. So he argued with me in his office about how I didn't send him something. So I said, okay, I just let bro go. I just let him go. Because in my mind now, I'm like, it's cool.
Yeah.
End of the meeting, I go back to my office. Go back to my desk. I forward him the message. And he calls me back in the office and he lets me have it. Like, why did you let me fuss at you, basically, when you knew I had this information?
Minute, what?
And so I sit there, and so I kid y'all not, I'm looking out the window.
It's an accountability issue.
I'm going, so I'm going to take my headphones out first, grab my charger, grab my jacket, grab my keys. Then I'm going to just keep walking straight to the door. I'm like packing up in my head because I know it's the last time. And he said, what is your issue with my job? And I said, you want the truth? He said, yeah. And I said, I gave him everything. I said, you're unorganized. I just started listening. And I said, this is not going to work. And I said, hey, I get it. It's your business. I said, I want to be you one day, like have my own office and things. I said, so I understand when you have somebody random just coming in your business and saying, hey, this is why your marketing sucks. And so we had that conversation. And the final straw was my last week of work, he didn't say not one word to me. So I went home because by this time I'm married, right? So I'm going home. I'm like, yo, it's a wrap. Every day I'm coming home telling her, I'm like, Monday he didn't speak to me. I was like, all right, whatever. Tuesday it wasn't. And I told her, I was like, y'all, I'm definitely about to get let go.
You already knew.
Yeah. And so when I got up there, you still don't know because I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm going to get one more paycheck.
You think
you want that one last one.
I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. And literally 2 days before, I get canned. And it was tough. It was one of those things I said, what did I just do? And then, her encouragement just really, really helped me. But the thing that I said, going back, when I was at this conference, right, there were no black photographers, no black speakers, no black photographers up there speaking. And the people there had amazing stories. I listened to a woman who she shot a wedding in Switzerland, and then she was in Africa shooting lions like the next day. Wow. That was her
next
thing.
Day?
The next day. She's showing us these images.
Yeah.
Oh.
Look,
like she's in the desert in Africa, and you see I'm like, huh? And then the guy beside her, he goes to Antarctica and he shoots cars on the ice.
Cars on the ice.
Yeah, like he literally has them doing donuts, and he's explaining like, yo, we had one time where the tires dug too hard, and the car started sinking, and we all had to hurry up and pull some moves so the car wouldn't just go down and the driver dies. It's a lot of things that like, listen, but
that's dope.
Yeah.
Not like dope, but
yeah.
I could picture that.
Yeah.
Obviously the man made it.
But you gotta understand, these people have their images up like on something like this in the room, right? And the art is huge, and it's on the best paper because you have like Canon and all these people who have the most crazy type paper. They're giving it to them, so their work can just blow up. And I just remember sitting there and walking, and I go, where the black people at? I said, where are we? Why are we not up there speaking? Because we go through a lot. Black photographers, black and brown, I'm going to keep going back to that. They really go through a lot. Some of that, one of our biggest issues we go through is, hey, how do we accept and realize that our community has just as much money and is willing to give us just as much money? Because we'll find ways to like, with other communities, we'll find ways to say like, oh, I want to appeal to them. That's because we think our people don't have the money. Yeah. They have it. We have it.
We do.
We really have it. They always say when we have a Republican president, black women, their businesses just skyrocket every time. They outperform everybody. I believe it. Because the last two, however that happened, they were hitting me up for pictures. They need pictures. They need, I have this new brand. Even before the pandemic, black women come, I need pictures. I need this. I'm starting this business. I have this conference I would love headshots for. So we have it, but sometimes we feel like we don't. Our community don't. So that's one of the things I try to stick out and say, how can I educate black photographers to say, yo, your community has it. You just have to find it. And you don't have to look hard. A lot of it's branding, a lot of it's marketing, a lot of it is just knowing your target audience, but things of that nature.
That's good.
I have one thing. It kind of goes back. It's going to digress a little bit back to a question Kyle asked you. And okay, so I want to ask, at what point in your life, because I believe that we tend to become people that we needed at some point. At what point in your life did you dream about being who you are right now? And what was so attractive about that person back then?
So I used to dream about this probably 2 jobs ago. So, all right. So when I was at the Ritz-Carlton, that's probably when it first started, right? Because I'm there, I'm doing marketing, and you start seeing all these beautiful hotels. You know, at that time, we was the only luxury brand. The only luxury brand in Charlotte. And so it was just amazing. And the only thing I can imagine is, so I used to travel for like dirt cheap. My discount was that good, right? And so I used to travel, and I used to always take my camera. I still do. She gets mad, but I still got to take it, you know. And sometimes I work. And so when I'm there, I just imagine then, like, what would it be like to say, yo, I'm going to this city, and I'm going to link up with people and just shoot them in their city, because it's something different in Charlotte than what I see every day, right? And that was probably that time then, and I realized, like, y'all loved it. And then I just remember getting a taste of that when I was at that conference. So freshly fired, like straight fired, just there. And this girl hits me up while I'm there. She said, yo, I want to shoot. I see you in New York. And I go, all right. So she pulls up to my hotel. She comes from Jersey. So just the way people up there just move. So she takes the train all the way over. She meets me in Brooklyn. And she shows up outside of my hotel. And I go, all right, so where should we go? She's like, she's from Atlanta. She's like, it's New York. You just walk. And we walked 2 blocks. And we just shot on people's porches outside of restaurants. Just walking around, just taking in like everything. You know what I'm saying? Then we find ourselves in Harlem, and then we find ourselves just in different places of New York. And you just really looking, and I'm like, oh, they got construction. She said, they don't care. She said, this ain't down south where people kick you out and just move. She was like, nah, it's nothing but creatives here. I went to Vegas. On my bachelor trip, I took my camera. I took pictures. I worked. I went for my birthday with her. I worked. I went back for my homeboy on his bachelor trip. I worked, just because it's just like, you go there, just seeing that different space and saying like, yo, I'm actually here. I'm traveling, working. So yeah, that's when probably years ago, I used to dream of that, because I don't know what I wanted to be when I was younger. I wanted to be a relationship counselor.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. That was a no. That was a no. But then once I realized I wanted to be a photographer, and I started taking it serious, and I took those courses, and I started realizing like, oh my goodness, there's a chance that this can possibly be just traveling and working. Like, I always love Charlotte. I want to stay here, but I love it because I can just hop on a plane, get to where I got to go, take the pictures, come back home and work. And so it was beautiful for me.
One thing that you said earlier, you were like, I was packing up in my head before essentially it happened.
Absolutely.
Right? What is something that you're packing up in your head, but you aren't confident or sure enough to make the decision right now?
That's a good one, Kyle.
That's
Thank
deep.
you.
He asked way better questions than what I do. And I was listening to y'all podcast. I'm like, oh, they for real. I told her, I was like, yo, I'm going on this pod. I was like, it's not ratchet like mine. Like, it's very, very, very. And I went through like 6 or 7 episodes. I was thoroughly impressed with y'all. Like, I
appreciate
love podcasts.
that.
So my thing that I'm packing up in my head, I really, really want to go full force with my pod. It sounds crazy.
It doesn't.
Yeah, what I think?
Because y'all do one. You know what I'm saying? But
before you start, you've said a lot today that it sounds crazy. Why don't you think that you can accomplish what you really want? Where is the self-limiting belief there?
That's it right there. It's just self. I think it comes from, I was never like the huge risk taker as a kid. Clearly, I told y'all between like those ages. And then once I got older, I was very like, I'm very calculated. I want to make sure. So it's not like I'm not working towards it, right? It's just that I'm now starting to grow. And that's that forgiving myself that we talked about earlier, but just saying, hey, I want to become more confident and willing to do it. And sometimes when I say, hey, that sounds crazy, it doesn't sound crazy to me because I sit there and I invest the time. I'm editing stuff, people think that you push record, you start recording, you just upload.
That's it.
Nah, facts.
It doesn't work that way. We got to edit video. We got to make sure it's right. Then once you get done with all that, you still got to promote.
Yeah.
You still got to make sure people see it. Nothing's worse than when you do all this and nobody sees it, right? And then sometimes you have to live with yourself and say, hey, I did this for me, and enough other people see it. Perfect. Beautiful. So for me, going full force with that, the reason why it might sound tough to somebody right now, I take pictures full time. I love taking pictures. Podcast, it's not like it pays. You know what I'm saying? You have to get there.
Yeah.
Where, then you have to start, got to get your listens, you got to get your sponsors, things of that nature. And so we're working on that now. But some of that saying, hey, educating. Like I said, for me, I don't know what everybody else's definition of it, but it's what you love to do and how you can get back to others. To me, is your purpose. I love photography. My way of giving back is through my pod, or I do one-on-one photography lessons. A lot of photographers contact me. They say, hey,
That's cool.
They pay from anything from, hey, can I just walk behind you on the shoot, to the full thing of, hey, I need you to schedule a shoot for me. I want to walk behind you on one session. You got to schedule this. You got to show me the ropes, and then can we edit together? So I do a full.
That's cool.
And the reason why, because a lot of people don't have 6 weeks like I did to say. When I was doing the 6-week course that she got me, it was twice a week. It was 6 weeks, and each class was 3.5 hours long. And that's tough when you're getting off of work after that. And, but it was important. It was great for me. And just saying, hey, how can I educate and give back? So that's my thing there. So I'm now getting in that space of saying, like, how do I make that happen and grow and just figure out how this podcast can take me to that other level of educating, whether that's public speaking, whether that's going to sit with other, just other officials saying, hey, how can we find creative spaces for Black and brown photographers in our city to shoot. Camp North End, they got popping because they allowed Black photographers to come in.
That's true.
And to shoot there. That's literally how they got popping. And they were known for that. Like, hey, we're going to open up the bays. Come shoot your music. Nobody ain't letting nobody shoot no music videos in their spot. I'm telling y'all right now. They shut that. Everybody shut that down. I don't shoot those. You never know what happened. It's kind of ratchet. So Camp North End said, hey, let's get people to come in. Look, when they got popping, you know what they did? Now we got to charge everybody $50 or $25 to shoot here. That's true. And a lot of Black photographers couldn't afford it. You know what I'm saying? So they said, all right, where can I go now? Well, you can't go uptown because the bank owns uptown. Everything. And so, sometimes if you get the right security guard, they'll look the other way. A lot of them do. Shout out to them. I hope I'm not making a block hot, but I appreciate it. But, those things, you can't go in parking garages no more. They, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things. If you can get kicked out of it, I've been kicked out of it in Charlotte.
Let me ask you something.
So
I think it's so interesting when people say, like, they're not risk takers. And I feel like I've been hearing that a lot lately in life. What was okay, I'm going to preface this because I believe as children, we don't see risk. We don't evaluate risk, and we don't perceive risk to be a negative thing. Until something happens. Either we see someone take a risk and it goes negatively, or we take one and it goes negatively, or we want to take one and somebody tells us, if you do that, it's going to be bad.
Absolutely. How
How did you learn to not be a risk taker? Because I think it's learned.
Absolutely. It's a great question. When I was younger, so by growing up in the church, I was surrounded by so many guys, like just older boys, right? Who also, they used to pick on me all the time too, but they taught me, you got to talk your trash back. You got to talk your stuff back. And so I'm grateful for them 110%. However, I used to watch them fail over and over. And it was scary. And the reason why I said it was learned, because only thing I was hearing at home was, you see what happened to such and such? Don't be that person. You see what happens here? Don't do this. And I feel like, especially when you're younger, I feel like Black parents really had like a standard of what they thought success could look like and how we achieve success, right? Funny enough, my last session, I was shooting a makeup artist for her birthday, and I said, you in college? She said, no. She said, I make so much money that I would have to stop, and I don't know what I want to go to college for. I said, well, don't do it until you know, or if you want to go. Because I said, success doesn't mean that you go to college. success doesn't mean that you spend 40 years on a job. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like when I was younger, I saw so much of that, and still be in that box of, hey, this is what success looked like. It wasn't until I literally got I got out of college and I met my old job, and my boss, she didn't care about nobody's degrees. She wanted your experience. She wanted to know what you knew and how you could use your experiences to make the job better.
Right.
And then it started hitting me like, yo, you can take risks. I was getting job interview requests, and for people just hit me up, was like, yo, you have an eye for photography. I know you can see certain things visually. And I'm like, well, does it matter? Like, certain things. It's so now I started developing now I think more people that are successful in different ways, you have to share that with people so young people behind you can see like, oh, I can be a podcaster, or I can be a videographer or a photographer. Literally, I knew one photographer when I was younger, and he was great. And, I didn't see too many more. And he wasn't black, so I didn't see no black photographers, growing up. So I didn't think it was possible. It wasn't until I got to high school and I seen some girls saying, "No, I might want to be a photographer when I get older." I'm like, they don't make no money. You know what I'm saying? It's certain things you have to just see and be able to share your story. So, especially with the younger generation, I know they off in their own little world, they're doing their own little thing, but sometimes you just have to show them. So I reach out to teachers all the time. I'm like, yo, if you ever need a photographer to come by or just a black entrepreneur to come by, just show them like, hey, there's multiple paths of ways to success.
Exactly.
And so you can grow.
Welcome back. We are here for after our last commercial break. We've been having a great conversation about so much stuff. This has been so reflective and so insightful, and I appreciate you being so open.
Thank you.
Literally.
Sorry I talked too much, but
Nah, this is necessary.
It is.
And I know you've talked a lot about, black and brown people, but black men don't do this. We're not reflective.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. We're not taught how to be expressive as we're growing up, and we're not open. But I love how every story that you gave, it wasn't from the victim standpoint. It was from the realization that, hey, this is a lesson that shaped me into being the man that I'm destined to be, and continuing to educate and empower other people to be the best that they can be. So I just appreciate that as well. I guess my final question, right?
What is it?
My final question, and I probably asked this so many times, but it's so great to just hear people's answers. So, summer is coming, right? Summer is right around the corner. We're coming out of spring, and then, after summer, we get into fall, and then winter, and then there's a new season. And, as we move into summer, a lot of people are, and I'm sure you probably take pictures with people in fitness, and they're getting their bodies together, and there's all of these different things that, they're trying to get ready for summer months. As we enter into the next season, what are you trying to get ready? What areas are you trying to shed? What abs are you trying to create so that you can be the best version of who you know to be?
Y'all know how you get on Instagram and you see those people, like, they'll post like the little deep thoughts. So like, I hate those things, but this is one of them. This is dead weight, bad energy, removing it. I'm so busy. And I'm not busy enough. I understand that about myself. It's so much more I can do. So for me, I'm trying to get rid of those things that distract me, that hold me back. That's not as important anymore. December, I sent out a message. So people that I usually rock with. What I used to do was, whatever it cost me to shoot you, you could just pay that, right? Friends, family, things of that nature. I sent out a text to people. I'm like, yo, just let you know, things are changing. I'm not going to be charging you full. But what I can't no longer lose money, because I think people think that, oh, I pay him for this. He's going to look out, which sometimes I do. I get fussed out by her. But the point is, sometimes you still lose at the end, right? You'd be surprised how many people stop texting me, answering my calls, hitting me up. And I wrote one day, I was like, oh, I see y'all shooting with other photographers. Like, I see it. And that's fine with me, because I'm not losing anymore. I'm actually gaining, because now I can put more quality there. I can put more opportunities there. I can perfect my craft. You'd be surprised how many times I go back and just edit old pictures because I've learned something different.
I feel like that speaks so much. It's like there are so many people that, they love me and we're great if you're on their schedule. If
absolutely.
you allow
That's
complete
facts.
access. I think it's so telling, how do people treat you on your bad days? How do people treat you when you change? How do people treat you in different seasons? Because you like me because I provide what you need from me.
In that season.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is ghetto, so y'all ignore this part. But I said on my last podcast, I said photographers, especially male photographers, have to stop taking pictures of like super pretty girls just because they pretty. They will finesse you out of a free shoot and finesse another guy with
Because they're used
those
to
pictures.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the reason why I say it like that is because you're seasonal for them. You're convenient for them.
Right.
Once you cut off your convenience for certain people, they really show you your true value to them.
In their life, yeah.
You just have to learn that. And you just got to move on from it. And I learned that early in photography. I learned that you can't pay me in exposure. And so those are the things that I've just paid attention to. Just that convenience factor. And
That's
value
good.
factor.
That's good. I think about so many restaurants that I only go to because it's convenient. Like if you had to get out the car to go to Cookout and you had to sit down inside of there and wait
you
for
wouldn't
your
do
food,
that.
would you really still choose it?
Nope.
Or would you still stop at Bojangles if you had to stop, go inside and wait for your food just like you waited at another restaurant? I think that's so dope, man. And I think everything that you've said today, spot on.
Thank you.
Spot
I
on.
appreciate it. I'm glad
And
to be here.
you told it's interesting how people overlook their value because you shoot stories and you create them visually. But today you communicated them in such a articulate way, and I'm just thankful to be in the room with Picasso. It's just like I never thought I'd be able to experience this. But nah, man, we appreciate you so much. And I guess my last thing is because you talk about educating people, right? I want you to share that message, right? Our podcast is different demographics, different places, different countries. I want you to speak to those people on that message, like that message that you would give them when they're being picked on. How can you help them recognize themselves?
I would say this to anybody that's listening. For those that look like me or have children that look like me, or for those children that have parents. One girl, she used to call me dad at school, and I did not understand why. Then her dad came to school, and I'm like, oh, he looks just like me. It's so funny, right? But I would say this, don't be afraid. There's something greater.
Yeah.
You literally just have to wait it out. You're going to be stronger than most people. I know it, and I don't mean to sound rude when I say that, but you're just going to be stronger. Your skin is going to be a little bit thicker. Just take the blows, and I promise you it's going to work in your favor. To my black and brown photographers, those who hire black and brown photographers, those who are near black and brown photographers, I would say this: growth is going to happen. Our community has the resources you need. Our community is strong. We can all become better. We just have to share. And I really believe in educating each other. We elevate ourselves and each other as well. I would say this. So the podcast is called Paid in Exposure Podcast, right? We don't like to, our biggest thing is being paid in exposure. You can't pay no bills with that.
That's true.
Ever. You know what I'm saying? That's just not what time we're working on. So what I tell other photographers is, look, if there's a black or brown photographer beside you, or there's an opportunity for you to hire one, do it. You'll get a different perspective. You'll be able to give back to our community. You'll be able to grow. We'll all be able to learn. And a lot of times people, shout out to my boy Josh, he talked about when he went to Duke Energy to shoot an event and he left his grill in on accident. He said he was taking it out and he said a white guy, older guy came in and said, yo, I like that. That's super cool. And he said his buddies came over and was like, no, that is actually cool. We're too old for that, whatever. And he said it wasn't like a full grill. It was just like the outlines, and he said it made me realize, like, be you. You know what I'm saying? And be you in that room, because what's going to happen is you're going to hate yourself once you leave and say, "Dog, they ain't like me for who I wasn't." I know when people don't like me for who I am, because I'm that guy every day. You're going to meet me, I'm going to talk my trash, I'm going to laugh, I got jokes, you know what I'm saying? But when it comes down to business, you know, I try to be on time. Like today, we was up the street. I told I was like, yo, we got to be there a little early. I got, you know, so I handle my business the correct way. But you got to be yourself. That's my encouragement to everybody and to my Black and brown photographers. Look, we growing. It's only up from here. Like, we are really, truly, truly growing.
This is good.
This is good.
This is good. So tell us where, you know, people can find you online.
You can find me at gavinboulware.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and on Facebook and Twitter. Yeah, you can follow me on this Twitter. It's Number Photography. It is all I am_Gavin B. You can do that. Also, if you are a photographer or videographer, please check out Paid Exposure Podcast, the Facebook group, and the podcast as well. However, if you are none of those things and you just want to hear us talk trash, please just listen to the podcast. Last week we was talking about, you know, Derrick Jackson and other ratchet. Exactly.
Facts.
Yeah, that's a whole nother hour podcast.
Right.
Don't do that to us. But we talk about all those things. So please check us out. And I want to thank y'all especially. I know we talked about this. You were like, hey, this is the days. I'm like, yo, I'm willing to do it. Thank you. Your email, I was like, oh, none of my guests get this type of email. But I'm thankful for you guys. Like, it was something quick. It wasn't like, hey, drawn out, this and that. And I really appreciate that, giving me this opportunity. And hopefully we can swap this out and y'all can come on my podcast.
But it's
Let us know.
It's ratchet,
It's
though.
different.
Just let me know what I need to wear.
You can wear whatever you want. And I like
Gotcha.
that. I heard that in one of your one of y'all episodes. You talked about going places and making sure you dress appropriately.
Yeah.
So, and I said, okay, maybe that was
you
cold for
have
me.
been listening, huh?
Look.
Y'all was talking
I'm like,
about,
I remember
I was
that.
talking about relationships and everything. I said, all right. Let me make sure I'm halfway presentable. Got a haircut last week. It ran good on time. But I'm thankful for y'all. I really, really appreciate it.
Nah, man, we definitely appreciate you.
Oh,
I can
yeah.
speak for both of us for sure. Like, this has been very impactful. Even for me, you know, we do this, and you know, we were having a conversation last night. Like, this is like our ministry, right? So I think so many people start podcasts to get their voice heard. We started this podcast, right? And you know, we sat down and we came up with this because we want to hear from you. We don't want to just talk about, you know, our stories or, you know, what we think is, you know, the right thing to say. We want to be able to create and curate something where our audience listening, I keep looking at the recorder because I literally am speaking like to somebody that I don't even see, right? Because our messages, you know, they may never follow us on Instagram.
Yep.
They may never show up to an event. They may never buy a product. But we may change lives that we don't even see.
Absolutely.
Just because our words, just because of our stories, just because of what we're actually doing for the community. Man, anybody listening right now, go follow my man Gavin. Go follow him everywhere. Hire him, please.
Please.
Stop playing with him. And just continue to support. Continue to support him. Continue to support Around the Way podcast. We are here for another episode with Gavin B. We'll see you guys next episode.
Bye, guys.